During the rush hour, Fong Yi stood at a bustling crossroads, her back stiff with tension. In her hand were several sheets of printed paper, now dampened by her sweat. In the distance, the setting sun hid behind a layer of leaden clouds, resembling a half-eaten yolk. Its orange glow cast a halo over the glass facade of the building across the street. All she needed to do was cross this road and plaster those sheets onto the glass wall of that building. By tomorrow, the scandal would be the talk of the town. This was the plan Fong Yi had come up with, after an entire night of deliberation, to take revenge on her husband. Was it a coincidence, or was some truth destined to come to light? Their usually well-behaved daughter had suddenly woken up crying in the middle of the night. After soothing her and putting her back to bed, Fong Yi returned to her room. She glanced instinctively at the man lying beside her. All this commotion hadn't disturbed Jing Yi in the slightest. He was sound asleep, snoring softly. Fong Yi sighed and shook her head in resignation. Just then, Jing Ye's phone, charging on the bedside table, lit up suddenly. Fong Yi had no intention of looking at it and was just about to lie down. But then the screen lit up again. Worried that it might be something urgent, Fong Yi nudged Jing Yi, but he didn't wake up. Left with no choice, she got up and unplugged the charger. The phone unlocked, and 2 incoming messages appeared starkly on the screen. Still awake. I miss you so much. It felt like a bucket of ice water had been dumped over her head. Fong Yi froze, gripped by a strong premonition that she was about to face a reality she had never imagined. A reality that might shatter her understanding of the world and disrupt the peace of her current life. Swallowing hard, she opened the chat app. Jing Ye's messages with another woman were laid bare before her eyes. Fong Yi recognized the woman. It was Jing Ye's departmental supervisor. The conversation started innocuously under the guise of work-related discussions. Over the past 6 months, however, they had grown increasingly intimate and explicit. Fong Yi had never known that her seemingly upright husband could behave in such a depraved manner. The messages were downright revolting. Jing Yi had even kept payment records for their hotel rendezvous, sending them to the woman late at night with comments like, "You're simply unforgettable." The woman responded with provocative photos full of suggestive undertones. The man who lay beside her every night had possibly just been with another woman, and now kept those messages to save her again and again. Fong Yi was utterly disgusted. She wanted to smash the phone against Jing Ye's head, wake him up, and demand to know why he would do such a vile thing, why he would humiliate her like this. But what then? A shouting match wouldn't change anything. Fong Yi quickly regained her composure. Without a word, she transferred the incriminating records to her own phone. Despite her effort to stay calm, her hands trembled uncontrollably. Jing Yi seemed so confident that she would never check his phone, or perhaps he simply didn't care. Either way, he had left her with undeniable proof. Fong Yi couldn't quite determine whether her sadness outweighed her anger or vice versa. The next day, she visited a printing shop and had those obscene messages and photos printed out. Now, she was just one step away from exposing the sordid affair to Jing Ye's colleagues and countless strangers. Let them judge those shameless lovers. With that thought, Fong Yi resolutely stepped forward. Watch out. Fong Yi was suddenly pulled back by a strong hand, yanked back to the crossroads. A car screeched to a halt just ahead, and the driver yelled furiously, "If you're trying to die, pick a better place for it." With that, he stomped on the gas and sped off. "Are you okay?" a gentle male voice asked beside her. Fong Yi turned around dazedly. The speaker was an attractive man with a concerned expression. "That car almost hit you," he explained. Following his gaze, Fong Yi noticed the red light in front of her. She had been so preoccupied that she had forgotten to check the traffic signal before stepping into the street. She was about to thank the man when a small head peeked out from behind him. A little boy tugged at the man's shirt and called out timidly, "Dad." "It's okay, Yin Yi. Everything's fine now," the man reassured the boy, gently patting his head. When Zhou Song saw someone stepping into the middle of the road without looking, his first instinct had been to pull them back. He didn't even notice the electric bike that had grazed his arm in the process. His arm still throbbed faintly, but he didn't let it show. Fortunately, nothing serious had happened. The little boy's voice finally snapped Fang Yi out of her trance. She quickly murmured her thanks to the stranger and hurried home. She had already been out for too long. Her daughter, Ning Ning, was waiting for her at home. Everything else faded from her mind. "Dad, isn't that lady?" Yan Yi furrowed his little brows. He felt the woman looked familiar, but couldn't quite put it into words. Meanwhile, Zhou Song watched Fang Ye's hurried figure disappear into the distance, lost in thought. "Mommy, I want mommy. I just want mommy." The moment Fang Yi stepped into the house, she heard her daughter's cries. For the 3 years since Ning Ning was born, Fang Yi had cared for her personally and tirelessly, rarely leaving home for more than a few hours at a time. Fang Yi rushed forward and pulled her daughter into her arms, holding her as though she were a precious treasure she couldn't afford to lose. "Where have you been? Why are you back so late?" Lin Shumin's tone was noticeably colder than usual. Fang Yi, who had always gotten along well with her mother-in-law, noticed the resentment in her eyes for the first time. Without offering an explanation, Fang Yi comforted Ning Ning before heading straight into the kitchen. The scorching summer sunset poured directly into the kitchen. In no time, sweat soaked Fang Ye's clothes. She had asked Jing Yi several times to help install curtains on the kitchen windows, but he never took her request seriously. Over time, she stopped asking. They had hired a few housekeepers to cook for the family before, but Lin Shumin, picky as she was, always found fault, claiming no one could match her daughter-in-law's cooking. And so, for the past several years of marriage, Fang Yi had shouldered the responsibility of preparing meals for the entire family. She did it willingly, confining herself to this small space, yet even her dedication couldn't save her marriage. Her mind was filled with the preferences of each family member, but she had failed to notice the changes in Jing Yi. Looking back, it must have started about 6 months ago when Jing Yi got promoted to team leader. He became increasingly busy and often came home late. Fang Yi, understanding as always, had no complaints. But now she wondered, how many of those nights had he spent with that other woman? Perhaps it was sweat trickling into her eyes, but they stung painfully, and her vision blurred. She thought to herself, this will be the last time. For the sake of her child and in-laws, she would prepare one last dinner for the family. Fang Yi had already decided to leave this home. That night, she waited until nearly midnight for Jing Yi to return, his face glowing with cheer. She confronted him directly. "You can't just threaten me with divorce every time you're unhappy about me coming home late," Jing Yi exclaimed, disbelief etched on his face. "You're being unreasonable." Fang Yi sank into the couch, arms crossed, her dark eyes fixed on him. Those were the same eyes Jing Yi had once kissed, their dark, clear gaze carrying a gentle warmth she didn't even realize she had. But now, her eyes were chillingly calm. Jing Yi immediately realized that Fang Yi was not one to make unreasonable demands. Then she pulled out a stack of papers and threw them in front of him. The hidden truths he thought he had buried were laid bare in the open. Overcome with shame and anger, Jing Yi shredded the papers into pieces. "Go ahead and tear them up. I still have copies on my phone. Even if you throw my phone away, there's a backup in my cloud drive." Fang Ye's eerie calmness felt merciless to Jing Yi. He slapped his own face and explained tearfully that it was a momentary lapse, that he had never intended to divorce her. He promised to end things with the other woman and begged for Fang Ye's forgiveness. Fang Yi watched him coldly, as though she were observing a performance. She had no doubt about the sincerity of his regret at this moment, but people forget. What would happen after forgiveness? Who could guarantee he wouldn't make the same mistake again? Moreover, the moment Jing Yi had stepped out of their marriage, their life together had veered off course. Her eyes revealed her disheartened resolve, and Jing Yi finally realized that once his secret was exposed, there was no salvaging their relationship. Though she seemed soft and delicate, Fang Yi was decisive by nature. Once she made a decision, she wouldn't easily change her mind. The divorce process turned out to be far more complicated than Fang Yi had imagined. It wasn't just her separation from Jingyi, but also the division of two families. She didn't know how Jingyi explained things to his parents, but her in-laws stood firmly by their son's side, urging her to be magnanimous. After all, everyone makes mistakes. What disappointed Fang Yi the most was her own mother, who also raised objections. Have you thought about Ningning? What will she do if you divorce? Zhao Fangfang urged, for the child's sake, you should try to make things work. After the divorce, Ningning will stay with me. Life will go on as usual, Fang Yi said firmly. You can't be so selfish. And as a single mother, have you considered how hard life will be? Zhao Fangfang's face was lined with worry, as though she could already foresee her daughter's struggles. Using the child as an excuse to force herself to endure is the true selfishness, Fang Yi said calmly. Memories of her childhood resurfaced. In her blurry recollections, it seemed her father had made the same mistake, and her mother had chosen to continue the joyless marriage. If it weren't for you, I would have left your father long ago. I wouldn't have to endure this life, Zhao Fangfang would say whenever Fang Yi made even the smallest mistake. It had become her refrain, as though all her unhappiness stemmed from her daughter's existence. As a child, Fang Yi bore immense guilt, believing her presence had prevented her mother from pursuing a better life. She had been obedient and considerate, striving to please Zhao Fangfang. Even after marriage, she constantly yielded and sacrificed to please her in-laws. Later, Fang Yi read in a book about the concept of a people-pleaser personality. She understood it wasn't a healthy mindset, but couldn't change it. Now, having gone through the same ordeal herself, Fang Yi finally realized that it had been her mother's choice, and her younger self had done nothing wrong. Because back then, her mother could have made a different decision. I won't be like you, using my child as an excuse, afraid of change, and unwilling to face a new life. Fang Yi looked at her mother and declared with unwavering certainty, I won't let my life become like yours, nor will I let Ningning endure what I went through as a child. Her decisiveness to divorce was, in a way, for her daughter. She refused to repeat her mother's mistakes or spend her later years resenting her husband. That, she believed, would be even more harmful to her child. Zhao Fangfang stared at her daughter in shock, as though seeing a stranger. She couldn't believe that her once docile daughter would utter such rebellious words. When she finally reacted, her hand struck Fang Ye's face in a sharp slap. I've sacrificed so much for you, and now you're looking down on me? The argument ended bitterly. Covering her stinging cheek, Fang Yi stormed out of her parents' house. She wandered aimlessly through the streets, exhausted from dealing with her family and unwilling to return to face her in-laws. As night fell, with nowhere else to go, Fang Yi found herself drifting into a bar. It turned out to be a poor decision. The pairs of couples in the bar evoked feelings of longing, and it was even harder to stay sober while carrying a heart full of heavy emotions. Zhou Song was initially discussing business with friends when he noticed Fang Yi sitting alone in the corner. He realized that every time she appeared, his attention was drawn to her effortlessly. Just like the last time on the street, Fang Yi didn't look well. A sleazy man was hovering around her, trying to strike up a conversation with ill intent. Zhou Song had seen this type before, men who preyed on drunk women. There was no way he would let something like that happen in his territory. He stepped in front of Fang Yi just as she spilled her drink and, pretending to be familiar, said, That's enough. Let's go. The sleazy man glanced at Zhou Song, seemingly convinced that the two knew each other. Coupled with the stark difference in their physiques, the man sulked and left. Fang Yi suddenly felt a wave of grievance. Why are you only coming now? She muttered. Even she didn't know who the you she was referring to was. Jingyi wouldn't show up, and she didn't expect him to. Thinking about him now only stirred feelings of regret and resentment. Between her and Jingyi, it was he who pursued her, showering her with unwavering attentiveness and care until she agreed to be with him. Back then, they worked in the same department, and Fang Yi excelled more in her role. When they decided to go public with their relationship and get married, the company's ban on office romances led Fang Yi to make the sacrifice of resigning. Afterward, as a married woman without children, she struggled to find work. Once she became pregnant, she simply stayed home to prepare for motherhood. 6 months after her daughter Ningning was born, Fang Yi finally found a suitable job and re-entered the workforce. But her in-laws struggled to care for the baby, and the nanny they hired proved unreliable. In the end, Fang Yi gave up her job again and took on the responsibility of caring for the entire family. She thought this was her ultimate support for Jingyi, but her sacrifices and efforts were completely wasted. Relentless self-sacrifice and unconditional giving, what life returned to her was a tangled mess. Her husband's betrayal, her parents' lack of understanding, and her confusion about the future drove her to seek solace in alcohol. Zhou Song looked at the drunken woman before him and felt a bit stumped. It wasn't really his business. He could have just left. But something kept him there. He couldn't walk away. The bar was no stranger to people drowning their sorrows, but Zhou Song had never seen someone so heartbroken. He tried asking for her family's contact information, but it only made her cry harder as she poured out her grievances, like a modern-day Lady Xianglin. Piecing together bits of her rambling, Zhou Song got the gist of her situation. He sighed and gave up trying to ask further, choosing instead to sit quietly by her side. At 2 a.m., the bar closed. Zhou Song had no choice but to carry the drunken woman to the lounge upstairs. Fang Yi had never experienced being this drunk before. Not only was her mind sluggish, but her limbs also felt out of control. She stumbled all the way, with Zhou Song half dragging, half supporting her. Climbing a few stairs became a clumsy ordeal for both of them. They ended up falling together onto the lounge's sofa. Her eyelids felt heavy. Fang Yi half opened her eyes and turned her head slightly, catching a glimpse of the man's prominent Adam's apple and taut jawline beside her. Even though alcohol had clouded most of her consciousness, Fang Yi knew what might happen next. It was hard to believe that someone would go to such lengths for a stranger in the dead of night purely out of kindness. Physical contact with a stranger had always been outside Fang Yi's comfort zone, but that night, she realized she didn't mind it. Perhaps it was the man's reassuring presence, his face that fit her aesthetic perfectly, or simply the influence of alcohol. Fang Yi found herself willing to be enchanted. Zhou Song also turned to look at her, emotions flickering in his deep-set eyes as time seemed to slow. Fang Yi wore a white short-sleeved blouse that outlined her slender figure. Because of their earlier movements, 2 buttons on the front had come undone, revealing her smooth, creamy skin. Her lips, flushed and moist from the alcohol, and her rosy cheeks made her look like a ripe peach, tempting one to take a bite and savor its sweetness. Zhou Song's Adam's apple bobbed, catching Fang Yi's attention. All of her composure flew out the window. In that instant, every fiber of her being screamed to cross the line, driven by a reckless mix of desire and a twisted sense of retaliation. If Jingyi could hold someone else in his arms, then Fang Yi could lose herself in the arms of a stranger. Struggling to lift herself, Fang Yi leaned toward Zhou Song's lips, only to be pushed away the next second. Zhou Song stood up. Fang Yi looked at him, puzzled. With one hand on his hip, Zhou Song ran the other through his hair, searching for the right words. Finally, he muttered, "I'm going to take a shower," and turned toward the bathroom. Fang Yi stared blankly at his retreating figure, then reached for a bottle of water from the bar. She caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror and froze. Her hair was a mess, her clothes disheveled, and her makeup smudged, with her eyeliner resembling panda eyes. She looked like a ghost. No wonder she wasn't appealing to anyone. Fang Yi quickly washed her face in the sink. The cold water brought some clarity back. Staring at her reflection, she barely recognized herself. Was she really going to let herself go just because of a betrayal? Fang Yi held her gaze for a moment, regaining her usual composure. She realized she had overestimated herself. She couldn't break past her psychological barrier for intimacy with a stranger. Grabbing her handbag, Fang Yi chose to flee. She stumbled toward the door, bumping into a table on the way, the noise alerting Zhou Song in the other room. He hadn't actually been showering, just trying to cool his head. He had almost lost control earlier. It had been a long time since he'd felt such strong emotions, but taking advantage of someone in a drunken state was no better than the predators he despised. "You're leaving this late?" Zhou Song's words, as soon as they left his mouth, struck him as potentially suggestive. Thankfully, Fang Yi didn't have the energy to read too much into them. She only managed to say, "Home," before staggering toward the exit. "It's not safe for you to go back alone this late." Without hesitation, Zhou Song grabbed his car keys, wrapped her in her coat, and escorted her out. Once in the car, Fang Yi gave him an address and promptly fell asleep. Fortunately, the address was correct. Fang Yi was still lucid enough to recognize her door. Before getting out, she muttered, "Driver, scan the QR code." Zhou Song froze for a moment before realizing she had mistaken him for a cab driver. The next morning, Fang Yi was jolted awake by her phone's incessant vibrations. Enduring a pounding headache, she opened the family group chat, only to find it in complete disarray. To be precise, it was Lin Schumann dominating the conversation. She had posted a photo taken just hours before, showing Fang Yi getting out of a car. Though the lighting was poor, the side profile of a man in the driver's seat was vaguely visible. "You all were asking why my son wants a divorce? Well, here's the reason," Lin wrote. Who knows when she started fooling around with another man? No wonder she's been insisting on divorce. The overly accusatory remarks were unbearable. Fang Yi dashed out of her bedroom, desperate to clarify. Though she had blacked out from drinking, she clearly remembered nothing untoward had happened. She had merely taken a ride home. Lin Schumann was in the living room, nonchalantly playing with her granddaughter in her arms. Perhaps out of guilt, she refused to meet Fang Yi's gaze. At that moment, Fang Yi had a realization. The reason she and Lin Schumann had gotten along so well before was because Fang Yi had always played the role of the dutiful daughter-in-law. Now that she and Jing Yi were at odds, any semblance of peace in their relationship had completely unraveled. Perhaps Lin Schumann didn't even care about the truth. She simply seized this opportunity to absolve her son of responsibility while tarnishing Fang Yi's reputation. Little Ning Ning clung to Lin Shumin's neck with her arms. Her timid gaze toward Fang Yi hinted at fear, a stark departure from her usual eagerness to rush into her mother's arms. There was no need to guess. Lin Schumann must have said something to the child. Despite her lingering headache, Fang Yi had never felt so clear-headed. Divorce was already affecting her child, even though it wasn't her original intention. She couldn't allow the situation to drag on any longer. Fang Yi didn't bother explaining to Lin Schumann. Instead, she posted all of Jing Ye's infidelity evidence in the same family group chat, which included relatives from Jing's side of the family. Initially, Fang Yi had wanted to broadcast Jing Ye's disgrace to the world in a fit of anger. Cooler heads later prevailed, and she refrained out of consideration for family ties. But now that Lin Schumann had ripped away all pretense, Fang Yi wouldn't take the fall for her lies. Without another word, she exited the group chat, leaving everyone to judge for themselves. Soon after, Fang Yi moved out of the Jing household with her daughter and rented a small apartment near Ning Ning's kindergarten. Not long after, the court finalized the divorce. Custody of Ning Ning was awarded to Fang Yi, with Jing Yi required to pay child support proportional to his salary. As for the marital home, it was still under mortgage. Fang Yi had contributed 400,000 yen to the down payment. She proposed that Jing Yi pay her 500,000 yen, and the house would be his entirely. After some discussion, Jing Ye's family, likely finding the deal reasonable, pooled money from relatives and transferred the amount to Fang Yi. Knowing them, Fang Yi surmised they only agreed so swiftly because she refrained from demanding more. She had no interest in dragging out the entanglement. She just wanted a clean break. When the dust settled, Fang Yi fell into a period of listlessness. One evening, as she stood before the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Her long hair was unkempt, her skin dull, and her entire demeanor lifeless. She suddenly despised what she had become. She realized that years of being a housewife had tamed her into inertia. Without the endless chores or meal preparations for family, she was left with nothing to do once Ning Ning was dropped off at kindergarten in the morning. "Mommy, you haven't read me a story in so long," Ning Ning said, tugging at her sleepwear. The child's eyes were pleading, her little lips pouting in disappointment. Fang Yi finally remembered. She had been neglecting her daughter. Though she spent every evening with Ning Ning, she often brushed off her stories about kindergarten or responded perfunctorily to her chatter. Children sensed such indifference, and Ning Ning's fleeting look of disappointment had been real. Kneeling down, Fang Yi cupped her daughter's face. People often said Ning Ning looked like a miniature version of her, with those big, soulful eyes trying to decipher her mother's sadness. Fang Yi hugged Ning Ning tightly. That night, they chose a favorite picture book and curled up together, just like old times. While Ning Ning quickly drifted off to sleep, Fang Yi lay awake. She couldn't continue living this way. She needed a purpose, something to devote herself to, a reason to move forward. Fang Yi instinctively logged into her long-neglected social media account. For the past 2 years, it had been her only semblance of a career. Floods of comments and private messages greeted her. Fans were asking why she hadn't updated in so long. Many even expressed concern for her well-being. The heartfelt messages warmed Fang Yi's heart. Previously, she had uploaded videos of her reading with Ning Ning or recommending her favorite picture books. What had started as a casual hobby unexpectedly gained her a loyal following. Publishers eventually reached out, asking her to promote children's books. She had never told Jingyi about this side project, mindful of his pride. The income she earned supplemented their household expenses, as his monthly contributions were far from sufficient. That night, a bold idea took root in her mind. The next day, after dropping Ning Ning off at kindergarten, Fang Yi carefully applied makeup and recorded a video. She candidly shared her recent struggles and announced her new plan. She would open a children's picture book cafe, balancing her career ambitions with raising her daughter. Sincerity trumped all strategy. The video resonated deeply online, garnering overwhelming support and bolstering her confidence. She quickly rented a shop near her community's commercial center. Previously a children's art studio, the space required minimal renovation. Fang Yi poured herself into preparing for the cafe's opening. She handled every detail personally, relishing the sense of purpose. Life was busy and exhausting, but for the first time in a long while, Fang Yi felt alive. One ordinary day, Fang Yi braved the scorching sun to pick up several packages from the courier station. They were all picture books she had purchased. The packages were heavy, and she had to rest every few steps. As her shop came into sight and the end was near, one of the boxes suddenly tore open, spilling books everywhere. The scene was undeniably embarrassing. Many passers-by glanced back, but none offered help. That's when Zhou Song appeared. He picked up every book from the ground and took the remaining boxes from Fang Yi's hands, carrying them back to her shop. Throughout the whole process, Fang Yi was in a daze. Watching his tall figure, she felt he seemed familiar but couldn't pinpoint why. "Have we met before?" Fang Yi asked as Zhou Song finished organizing the last book. Zhou Song smiled faintly. His features were well-balanced, and his smile made him look approachable. "I'm the owner of that shop," he said, pointing across the street. "Looks like we're neighbors now." Fang Yi knew of the shop across the street, though calling it a cafe wasn't entirely accurate. At night, it transformed into a bar. This unique business model was still fresh in a small city like Yucheng. Its distinct design, with completely different vibes during the day and night, had turned it into a trendy spot, always buzzing with customers. Fang Yi wondered if she had ever visited that bar on a downhearted night, but whether she had met the owner remained uncertain. Zhou Song quickly changed the topic, and Fang Yi stopped dwelling on where her sense of familiarity came from. Maybe handsome people just looked similar. Later, Fang Yi discovered that Zhou Song wasn't just good-looking but also incredibly kind. He would show up promptly to help her change light bulbs or move heavy items whenever she couldn't manage alone. After spending some time together, Zhou Song realized that although they'd met twice before, Fang Yi didn't remember him clearly. He was a bit disappointed, but reassured himself. Now that they were neighbors, there would be plenty of opportunities to interact. Zhou Song often recalled the night Fang Yi had gotten drunk, her crimson lips, her slightly coquettish demeanor. She seemed completely unaware of how alluring she looked. Each time, Zhou Song would quickly interrupt his thoughts. He didn't want to overthink it. If Fang Yi didn't remember, so be it. Let those memories remain his alone. In truth, Zhou Song had known about Fang Yi long before. 2 years ago, Zhou Song had just taken on the responsibility of caring for Yan Yi. Having no prior experience looking after children, he often found himself at a loss. Yan Yi was only 2 at the time. Every night, he would cry for his mother. Zhou Song, suppressing his immense grief, would tell him, "Mommy won't be coming back." Every time, Yan Yi cried his heart out. Zhou Song felt cruel, but knew he couldn't let the child live in a lie. A married friend suggested the best way to calm a child was to tell them stories. What sounded like a simple task proved challenging for Zhou Song. Thankfully, he lived in the age of the internet. Searching bedtime stories on a video platform, he accidentally came across Fang Yi. He and Yan Yi repeatedly watched every video of her reading picture books. Sometimes, they both fell asleep halfway through, only to wake in the middle of the night to find the videos still on loop. The soft-spoken woman with her gentle, soothing voice narrated stories that not only accompanied Yan Yi during that tough period, but also healed Zhou Song. When Zhou Song later learned about Fang Yi's circumstances and her plans to open a picture book store, he hadn't expected her shop to be right across from his. The city wasn't that big after all. Surprises and joy could come unexpectedly. When Fang Yi's store opened, Yan Yi, her loyal little fan, was the first to enroll as a student. Now, Zhou Song stood by the glass window, watching Fang Yi sit cross-legged among the children. Her animated expressions and lively voice as she mimicked various characters showed she was fully immersed in the story. Unconsciously, Zhou Song's lips curved into a soft smile. The classroom was packed. Enrollment had grown significantly compared to when the shop had just opened. The beginning had been tough, with only a handful of kids attending, most of whom were local fans of Fang Yi. Zhou Song had often seen Fang Yi with a worried look. He suggested that new shops needed promotion to build their reputation. He even hired someone to design discount coupons for her and help distribute them outside local preschools. Zhou Song also instructed his cafe staff to give the coupons to customers with kids during checkout. Many parents, intrigued by the setup of her shop, ended up visiting and were captivated by its charming design. Furthermore, Zhou Song, drawing from his marketing experience, helped Fang Yi get her store listed on group buying platforms, offering trial classes for just 1 yuan. More than half of the kids who attended the trial classes signed up for regular sessions. Certificates from Fang Yi's previous studies, like advanced reading instructor credentials, were framed and prominently displayed under Zhou Song's advice. Though she had obtained them for fun during her marriage and didn't think much of them, they added credibility in the eyes of most parents. As the business stabilized and grew, Fang Yi treated Zhou Song to a meal in gratitude. After class, Yan Yi often lingered, finding a picture book in the self-reading area to pore over. Zhou Song never rushed him. If Fang Yi had some free time, the two adults would chat for a while. If Zhou Song was busy, Yan Yi would stay with Fang Yi until his dad came to pick him up. Time flowed quietly through these ordinary days. The two single parents, each raising a child, seemed to have become mutual companions, supporting and looking out for one another. The picture book library had an unexpected visitor that day. During the time he waited for Fang Yi to finish her class, Jing Yi wandered around the library, inspecting every corner. The warm decor, clean and organized environment, all of it reflected Fang Yi's style. It reminded him of how she used to keep their home in perfect order. Jing Yi used to think Fang Yi did nothing at home besides tending to the child and housework. He hadn't even known when she earned those certifications or started her own little business. This realization filled Jingyi with regret. There was a time when he admitted to looking down on Fang Yi. She seemed to him like someone stuck in the trivialities of daily life, completely detached from the world outside. For this reason, he avoided sharing anything about his work with her. Gradually, they lost their common ground and drifted further apart. But now, he saw that Fang Yi, even without him, could thrive. She seemed more composed, confident, and radiant, something Jingyi never anticipated. When Fang Yi saw Jingyi, she was visibly surprised. "Fang Yi, let's find somewhere to talk," Jingyi said, reaching for her hand. Fang Yi instinctively recoiled from his touch. Zhou Song, sitting with Yan Yi in the reading area, noticed the commotion and stood up, but Fang Yi had already pulled away from Jingyi. "Whatever you have to say it here," Fang Yi replied firmly. Jingyi glanced around. Apart from a father and son minding their own business, the room was empty. Feeling emboldened, he got straight to the point. "I'm here to ask you to come back. Without you, the family just isn't the same." Fang Yi found his words laughable. "Have you forgotten? We're divorced. Are you asking me to come back and continue being your family's unpaid housemaid? Divorced couples can still remarry. I'm apologizing again. Can't you forgive me?" Jingyi refused to believe Fang Yi could completely cut him out of her life. After all, they shared a daughter and still had ties binding them together. To him, there was always a chance to start over. "Do you think I haven't suffered enough humiliation in our marriage?" Fang Yi retorted, nearly laughing out of sheer anger. Her resolute rejection began to irritate Jingyi. "And what about your mistakes? You never cared about my career. Do you know how much pressure I faced as the sole breadwinner?" He paused before continuing. "Xiaolan was my superior. She cared about my work and helped relieve my stress. I made a mistake, yes, but..." Jingyi clenched his jaw and blurted out, "At least being with her benefited my career. But my true feelings were always for you." Fang Yi felt utterly disgusted by his justification. As Jingyi moved closer to grab her, Zhou Song stepped between them, shielding her. "Do you even hear yourself?" Zhou Song said calmly. "A grown man making excuses like that, it's pathetic." His sharp facial features, usually softened by a gentle demeanor, now radiated an intimidating aura. Jingyi, who was shorter than Zhou Song by half a head, instinctively took a step back, his eyes darting between Zhou Song and Fang Yi. "You two, you've been seeing each other, haven't you?" That night he'd been away on a business trip, Lin Shumin had sent him photos. He couldn't confirm whether the man in the photos was Zhou Song, but seeing the way Zhou protected Fang Yi now filled Jingyi with jealousy, making him lash out without thought. "Whether that's true or not has nothing to do with you," Zhou Song said indifferently. He then turned to Fang Yi and added, "But rest assured, I'll cherish her well." His gaze was deep and sincere, far more than just a mere retort to Jingyi. Fang Yi's heart skipped a beat. After Jingyi stormed out, Fang Yi found herself unable to meet Zhou Song's eyes. Two things happened afterward. First, one of Fang Yi's former colleagues attended a reading experience session with their child. It was through this colleague that Fang Yi learned both Jingyi and Xiaolan had been fired from their company. It all started with a group chat record. That day, Fang Yi had shared evidence of Jingyi's affair in the family group chat, and her cousin had forwarded it to a classmate. From there, the information spread rapidly, becoming a hot topic in Yuqing for a time. The gossip faded after a few days, but it reignited when an audio recording surfaced, pouring gasoline on the dwindling embers. In the recording, Jingyi's voice could be heard. "Xiaolan was my superior. She cared about my work and helped relieve my stress. I made a mistake, yes, but at least being with her benefited my career." The recording reached the company's higher-ups, leaving no room for either Jingyi or Xiaolan to remain employed there. Fang Yi wasn't one to seek revenge, but Jingyi had disturbed her peaceful life first. Besides, why should she be the one to bear the upheaval while those in the wrong continued on unscathed? The second event involved Zhao Fangfang offering to help care for Ning Ning. "You're raising a child alone while starting a business. It's too hard," Zhao Fangfang said. She declined, not out of spite, but because she genuinely believed being by her side was the best for Ning Ning. Zhao Fangfang didn't press further, merely sighing. "Women of your generation are so much more independent and capable than we were." Some things might never be resolved, but Zhao Fangfang had spent half her life stuck in resentment, missing her chance for a fresh start. Trying to shift the topic, she added, "But you're not even 30 yet. You can't spend the rest of your life alone, can you?" Fang Yi felt exasperated. Divorced less than a year and already being pushed to remarry? She thought of Zhou Song. He was always kind and reliable, someone she felt she could trust. Fang Yi wasn't oblivious. What they had couldn't merely be called friendship. She liked him, too, but for now, she had no plans to act on it. Jing Yi had shattered her illusions about love, and his family had drained her faith in marriage. Though life seemed to be improving, there were still parts of her that couldn't move forward. According to the arrangement, Jing Yi would take Ning Ning out for a day over the weekend. However, by Sunday evening, Ning Ning still hadn't been brought back. Fang Yi called Jing Yi. On the other end, the noise was chaotic. When asked about Ning Ning, Jing Yi suddenly remembered that he had left her at the amusement park. After learning about issues with a business partner, he had rushed to handle it, completely forgetting about his daughter. Fang Yi's legs went weak. A 3-year-old girl abandoned in an amusement park. What could happen? Her mind filled with news of child abductions. Standing by the roadside, she felt panicked and disoriented, her trembling fingers unable to open the ride-hailing app. Just then, Zhou Song drove back with Yan Yi. Rolling down the car window, Fang Yi clung to it like a lifeline, stammering out the situation. Without hesitation, Zhou Song drove her to the amusement park. As dusk deepened, Fang Yi's heart hung in her throat. Zhou Song gripped the steering wheel with one hand, using the other to cover her cold hand, trying to offer some warmth. Yan Yi, with a worried expression, reassured Fang Yi, "Ning Ning will definitely be fine." By the time they reached the amusement park, it was nearly closing time. Zhou Song led Fang Yi and Yan Yi around, asking staff members for information until someone finally took them to the service desk. Ning Ning was there, watching TV with a staff member. When she saw Fang Yi, she burst into tears, crying out, "I thought I'd never see you again, Mom. They asked me for your phone number, but I kept getting it wrong." A staff member explained, "We broadcast announcements many times, but couldn't locate her family. If you had been a little later, we would have called the police." Fang Yi held her daughter tightly, as if clutching a lost treasure returned. When Jing Yi arrived, he saw the silhouettes of 4 people walking away together in the dim light. The scene stung his eyes. Though he was anxious about his daughter, he now felt more like an irrelevant figure. In that moment, he realized his daughter no longer seemed to need him, and his ex-wife harbored resentment toward him. A single misstep had cost him dearly. On the way home, the 2 children fell asleep, heads resting together in the back seat. Upon arriving, no one got out of the car, perhaps to avoid waking the children. Fang Yi, still shaken, remained pale and silent. She didn't even notice Zhou Song's hand still resting on hers. Fang Yi, usually soft yet resilient, now seemed fragile and on the verge of breaking. Zhou Song wanted to shield her from harm. And so he did. Unbuckling his seatbelt, Zhou Song turned and embraced Fang Yi, feeling the slight tremble of her slender frame. It wasn't the first time ambiguous feelings had surfaced between them. Once, when Yan Yi stayed too late at Fang Yi's house and fell asleep alongside Ning Ning, Zhou Song had come over to chat with Fang Yi. At one point, their gazes locked, silencing their conversation. The atmosphere grew thick with tension. Zhou Song leaned in cautiously, inching closer until only a sliver of space remained between them, their warm breaths mingling. Fang Yi even closed her eyes. But at the last moment, she pulled back abruptly, regaining her composure. This time, however, Fang Yi needed someone to lean on and she didn't resist. She even allowed Zhou Song to press a kiss on her forehead. The glow of the streetlight streamed through the windshield, casting a hazy yet tangible connection between them. That night, Ning Ning snuggled into Fang Ye's arms, her small voice murmuring, "Mom, I don't like my dad. I want a dad like Uncle Zhou." Fang Yi was momentarily speechless. Before and after the divorce, Jing Yi always seemed too busy to give Ning Ning his undivided attention, perpetually glued to his phone. In contrast, Zhou Song often spent his days off with Yan Yi, patiently and attentively caring for the children. Kids may not articulate it, but they quietly compare. Fang Yi realized that someone like Jing Yi might not positively influence Ning Ning's upbringing. Jing Yi had missed 3 months of child support payments. Through the grapevine, Fang Yi learned that Jing Yi had been fired. Zhao Lan blamed him for mishandling private matters and ruining her reputation, straining their relationship. Unable to secure another job due to his tarnished reputation, Jing Yi started a business with a partner, only for it to fail. His house, used as collateral, was foreclosed, forcing the family to rent. Fang Yi never counted on his child support. Yet, Jing Yi approached her, admitting he couldn't continue paying. "I might as well stop seeing Ning Ning for now. You don't care about me as her father anyway," he said, haggard and despondent, a far cry from his once confident self. Seeing her ex-husband's downfall, Fang Yi felt neither triumph nor pity. To her, he was now irrelevant. Still, children long for paternal love. Every evening, Ning Ning stood outside the bookstore, gazing across the alley where Zhou Song was teaching Yan Yi soccer. One day, Fang Yi stood behind Ning Ning, following her gaze. There was someone new, a sophisticated woman playing soccer with Zhou Song and Yan Yi, the three laughing infectiously. Fang Yi overheard Yan Yi calling her mom, quickly concocting a scenario of a reconciled family. Zhou Song, once an engineer in Xin City, had moved back to U City with Yan Yi 2 years ago. Fang Yi assumed Yan Yi's mother had stayed in Xin City. Yet now, after so long without visiting her son, she suddenly reappeared, creating such a harmonious scene. Could they be rekindling their relationship? Fang Yi turned back inside, a weight pressing on her chest she couldn't explain. That evening, when Zhou Song brought Yan Yi to class, he seemed as cheerful as ever. Fang Yi, however, struggled to maintain her composure. Zhou Song, in good spirits, tried to engage Fang Yi in conversation, but she finally snapped, slamming a pile of books onto the table. "Where's Yan Yi's mom? Didn't she come to drop him off?" The moment the words left her mouth, Fang Yi realized her tone was one of frustration, tinged with an odd sense of grievance. Why could Zhou Song express interest in her while seeming ready to reconcile with his ex-wife? She wasn't prepared for a new relationship and hoped Zhou Song would give her time. But it seemed even hearts could change. Zhou Song was momentarily stunned, then his expression softened as he caught on. His mood seemed to improve. "You mean Suna?" he asked with a mischievous smile. "She's resting after a long day of traveling." Fang Yi had a difficult night. It felt like there were 1,000 versions of Zhou Song in her mind, each one with that gentle smile in his deep eyes, replaced by the look he had when talking about Yan Yi's mother. The next day, she went to work with panda eyes. Strangely, nearly every parent who came to drop off their child had a cup of takeaway coffee from Zhou Song's shop across the street. One parent told Fang Yi, "Boss Zhou said that if we could get close to Teacher Fang, we'd get a 50% discount on coffee." A few other parents gathered around with gossiping expressions. "So, Teacher Fang, have you agreed?" Fang Yi, still suffering from a sleepless night, exploded at that moment. She stormed across to the shop. The coffee shop was quiet in the morning, and Zhou Song was leisurely leaning against the counter. When he saw Fang Yi, he immediately sat up straight. Fang Yi slammed the counter. "You're running this promotion at your shop. Does your ex-wife know?" The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. This was blatant evidence of playing both sides. Zhou Song almost choked. "Ex-wife? What ex-wife?" Fang Yi asked, "Don't you have one?" Zhou Song replied with a question of his own. "Do I?" Fang Yi continued, "Then what about Yan Yi's mother?" Zhou Song finally understood where Fang Ye's misunderstanding came from. He had never spoken about Yan Yi's background to anyone. He had fully adopted Yan Yi as his own son, and discussing it only brought sadness. 2 years ago, Zhou Song's sister and brother-in-law passed away in an accident, leaving behind a son who was just 2 or 3 years old. Zhou Song rushed back to handle the affairs and became the only person capable of caring for Yan Yi. He had considered taking Yan Yi to Shuncheng, but his work kept him so busy that he realized it wasn't feasible with another child. Plus, with his aging parents, someone had to stay and take care of them, so he decided to stay. His girlfriend from Shuncheng, after being separated for a long time, broke up with him. Zhou Song was initially frustrated, but he soon realized that maybe their relationship wasn't strong enough to withstand the test.
He was not someone to dwell on the past.
He quickly moved on and adapted to his new life. For a long time, he focused all his energy on Yan Yi. When Yan Yi's emotions stabilized, Zhou Song realized he couldn't find a suitable job here. So he decided to start his own business, which led to the coffee shop. When he was younger, he had looked down on small cities, but he had grown to appreciate the slower pace of life here in the Jiangnan town. Then I met you, and we became neighbors. Zhou Song looked at Fang Yi with infinite tenderness in his eyes. I think life here is actually pretty good. As for Su Na, Zhou Song explained that she was his sister's best friend. When Yan Yi was born, she became his godmother. She had come specifically to visit him, and Yan Yi was thrilled to see her. Fang Yi felt utterly embarrassed about the misunderstanding. She turned to leave, but Zhou Song grabbed her hand. "If you don't mind, I'm going to pursue you boldly." Zhou Song had never been sure about Fang Ye's feelings for him. She clearly didn't dislike him, yet also seemed to avoid him. But after seeing her jealousy yesterday, he was certain she cared about him. Fang Yi didn't pull her hand away. She let him hold it tightly, her head lowered as she felt the dry warmth of his hand. A smile gradually appeared on her lips. Perhaps, when she tried to convince herself to be ready for a new relationship, she had already fully accepted him in her heart. So, she decided to let things flow naturally. That day, the parents witnessed Zhou Song holding Fang Ye's hand as they walked back to the picture book library together. As for whether Zhou Song succeeded in pursuing the young teacher, well, that was already a given. Fang Yi was glad she decisively ended a wrong relationship and, at the age of 30, was able to reignite her hopes for a fresh start in life.